Welcome to the Beyond the Business podcast. I'm here with Ali. I'm going to bring him to the stage. He's an introverted entrepreneur with a background in dropshipping and e-commerce, and now is focused on building his funding agency and helping business owners like you. Ali, welcome to the show.
Hey, Brandon, how's it going, man? Thank you for having me.
100%. So I know before the show we were talking a lot about your background, your journey, but before we begin, I want you to just introduce a little bit about who you are and your background.
Absolutely. Hey, everyone. So my name is Ali. I started my entrepreneurial journey 5 years ago. Started basically from nothing. I just had an idea and I wanted to implement it. My goal was to eventually get to a point where I was making at least enough to pay for food and rent based on my own business, right? And it all started with drop shipping, started with e-commerce, started with sneaker reselling. And that was a big part of what I was doing. I was doing it part-time. I was studying, I was in school, I was in college. And so at that time it was COVID and the sneaker market was booming. It was doing exceptionally well. Everyone was going into sneakers. And I thought, hey, this is a great opportunity for me to jump into it. I've always had that mindset of business, but I didn't really know what that entails, right? And so for me, it was just learning it. I got into groups, I got mentorships, I watched a bunch of YouTube videos, and I said, hey, this sounds like something I could do. I'm going to go really deep into it. I basically had a job on the side. I mean, I was door dashing for making $100 a day, working like 6-7 hours a day, right? And I saved up that money, put it all into buying inventory for sneakers or my Amazon products, and I went all in. And 5 years later, I don't do the same business that I was doing, and I hope to talk to you all about that later in this podcast. But right now, I eventually pivoted into credit and the funding market. With credit, right? It's credit is such a big thing for people around America. Everyone has a credit score, right? It's 2025. A lot of people don't know exactly how to manage their credit or manage their money. And that's been my passion, especially for the past few years, is learning the ins and outs of it. How can I help someone build their credit? Or if they already have bad credit, how can I take them from point A all the way to point B by educating and by service as well? With funding, it's been getting entrepreneurs access to thousands of dollars in funding, leveraging banks, leveraging private investors for scaling opportunities. And I think it's been a great success because everyone needs money to start their business. No one is really coming from a background with tons of money, or even if you have enough saved up, that is amazing. But if, let's say, you spend X amount of money for your business and you get some of that money back to maybe to travel somewhere, or in like cashback points with credit cards, or you get that money elsewhere, everyone can use a couple $3,000, right? And so it's really just teaching everyone the ins and outs of what are the resources and opportunities allowed out there, and what's helped me come from where I started up until now in just my entrepreneurial journey and learning whatever I can.
I love it. Starting in the beginning, I want to ask, you got into dropshipping, right? And e-commerce and Amazon FBA.
I did.
Was there a specific thing got you into it? Was it like you just needed money? Was it a mentor that you saw that was doing the same thing? Was it online YouTube?
Yeah, it was. So it was a few different things, and I'll actually go over it. The first thing was I've always had an interest in just hype items. I loved, shoes, and loved the idea of just starting a business and selling some kind of product to the point where it would make my customers happy, right? And there were two things that came from. The first one was products, right? What are the products that I'm really selling to my customers? And the second thing was, what kind of service am I providing to them? Customer service is huge in any kind of business, and it takes a lot of trial and error to understand that. But before you can provide customer service, you have to be selling the right product, right? There's never going to be 100% certain, like, hey, this customer is super satisfied with your product. Sometimes there are, right? Those are good moments. But other times it's like, hey, I kind of liked it, kind of didn't. How are you going to resolve that? How are you going to make them happy, right? And so it was those two components really interested me. And I saw an opportunity with Amazon FBA like I mentioned before, the market was doing really well, and I was like, man, I really want to get into this business, but what can I do that's going to give me that opportunity so that I can jump into this entrepreneurship journey, right? At that time, I didn't really have any kind of skills that I could use. I was in college I was studying healthcare. And so I was still understanding how healthcare works. I'm always a person with healthcare and heart, right? That's been my profession. Along with my business before, that was my profession as well as an EMT for a few years. And so with that though, it was I had this passion for business, I had this passion for medicine. I didn't have the skills to give anyone like a service. I didn't know how to create brands, I didn't know how to post content, I didn't really
Mhm.
understand like what is supply and demand, right? I was so new to this. And so my mentality was I want to get into it somehow. And I saw the opportunity, I chased after it, and I said, hey, let me go all in this one thing that I know, which and let me focus on learning about it, which at that time was actually sneakers and Amazon FBA. Both of them and dropshipping. Both all three of those components went hand in hand together, right? With Amazon FBA, you could sell shoes on Amazon. With sneaker reselling, I sold my shoes on like Facebook Marketplace, right? Created stores on there. I even tried creating my own like sneaker brand, right? So that I can sell and resell sneakers on my own personal brand.
Mhm.
Um, and even with drop shipping, it was things like, let me find a good product to do, or a good product that's a winning product that can sell well. And how am I going to find my clientele and just put my product out there? So that's what really got me started. It was just a bunch of different interests. I I love healthcare, but I also really really enjoy business, and I'm hoping with those that are out there and have different passions and interests in life. Um, since I've been growing up, I've always heard, stick with one, do one thing. It's hard to do multiple niches and go into different markets and combine different skills. I wanted to break that cycle, right? My goal was how can I know I can do it. I know I can be successful in healthcare and business and maybe even do tech later on, right? I have the passion for it. I want to do all these things and I know the possibilities out there. I've just got to break that cycle. I have to break that mentality that people have been ingraining in my head since I was born, that you have to do one, you stick with one, you make money, you live a good life, and that's it. But that's not where it is, right? There's opportunities out there that you don't see until you shift your mentality. You shift your mentality that, hey, I'm gonna make this happen. Yeah, I'm a six-figure earner with my job right now. I'm stable, I'm doing good, but I'm always like, oh, if I had an extra, couple thousand a month, I could spend it on my kids, right? Or I could spend it on my wife, I could spend it on my family. I can maybe get a better house, go into this better area, right? Get this a little bit better of a car. Um, and that's not going to happen just staying in the business that you're in. And so, in that moment, my short term goal was to make a few thousand from my business, and hopefully that pays for my college fees and college tuition, living expenses. But long term goal was to break that cycle that I'm gonna do healthcare, business, everything that I have a passion for in this life, fulfill that. But I'm gonna start now. I'm gonna start learning now so that 10 years from now, I know that my skill set will allow me to be in those positions and hopefully, right?
Mhm.
Hopefully grow to where I want to be.
So one of the notions you're talking about that you had a break was that you can have multiple interests and multiple skills, right? That you don't have
That's
to
right.
just stick with one. What is another notion you had to break in order to become an entrepreneur?
Great question. I think another notion that I had to have to really go, past that mindset of staying in my bubble and really expanding was taking risks. I have always been a bit nervous to take a risk, at least in the past when I first started my business, right? And I think here's where I went wrong. And this is where I've learned that also a lot of people go wrong with this as well.
Mhm.
It's not that when you're taking your risk, you're putting everything on the table and you're going with that one idea. It's the fact that are you willing to bet on yourself that this is going to go well? I'm a believer, and call me a little optimistic about this too, but I'm a believer that there's no single, there's just no single idea out there that's a bad idea. anyone can make a living, can make a money, can make, a product, whatever it is, off of an idea, because there's always going to be someone that has a need for it. But when you are in that mindset of saying, is it really worth it to put $10,000 that I have saved for the past, like I've been saving for the past 6 months, into this one idea that maybe could work, maybe couldn't, right? That's a big investment. That's a scary thing to think about. But when it comes to, hey, I'm gonna put $10,000 in this really, really nice vitamin, idea that I have, right? I have this crazy idea to create this brand new vitamin that people are gonna love. People have a need for it. I've already ran the surveys. I've done the research on it. I know that my product is gonna be a hit. I'm going to take that risk and put that investment into it. If the product does well, amazing. I just made so much money. I did so much for myself. I saved myself time and stress and risk, right? But if it doesn't, then that's okay. I took that risk. I did it. I learned from it. And now I'm going to implement my learning and teachings and put into another business idea that I know is $1 million idea. So it's about risk. It's about being confident in yourself and being like, hey, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to execute. And there is nothing that is going to stop me in this moment, because I've made a commitment to myself. I haven't made a commitment to my family, my wife, my kids, my parents, nothing. I've made a commitment to myself that I'm going to see it through. And whatever the results are, I know that I walked away a winner. And it's not that I walked away a winner with money. Either I walked away a winner with more wealth, maybe more to put to my name, maybe more that I could give to people I love, or I walked away as a champion, learning something that I didn't know when I first started. So that's what risk is always going to do for you. It's always going to give you an opportunity to, number one, grow. Number two, it's going to give you an opportunity to learn. And number three, with the chance that it's a banger, it does absolutely amazing in the market and to the people that you're selling to, it's going to give you a little bit more wealth, right?
100%. At the end of the day, what's it called? You're young, I'm young. It's like, I feel like everyone that's older than us emphasizes that's like the 20s is not for earning, the 20s is learning, right?
Right.
Like if you're not learning in your 20s, if you're not taking a risk in the 20s, it's like, why are you
You're
being
not going to go
comfortable?
anywhere. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Like we don't deserve to be comfortable right now.
Yeah, no,
We
100%.
just learn.
And the thing about comfort right now is, and we talked about this earlier too, we're talking about being introverted into our bubble. And the idea is that comfort also comes with pain, right? There's When we talk about risk, we talk about putting ourselves through pain, right? Nothing happens overnight. Nothing is easy. We all know this, right? It's like, even if you're learning the skill, you're going in school, right? College is 4 years long, right? You're not learning anything. You're not ready to go out in the world in just a year, right? Not 2 years, not 3 years. No, you have to go through 4 years of college just to be quote unquote qualified, right? To take your degree and apply it to jobs. So when we think about skills, we're looking for the quick fix. We're like, yeah, I'm in this niche. I'm doing this business. I did take the risk, right? But then are you comfortable where after you take the risk, right? Are you comfortable saying like, yeah, I did it, right? I made $5,000. I made $5,000 every month. I'm about to hit a goal of, hopefully if revenue keeps generating, I'm going to hit $100,000 by the end of the year. I'm great, right? I'm exactly where I want to be. But now, when you first started this idea, did you set it to just be comfortable, or did you set it to maximize every single chance that you have of having more people with this product, having more people know about your services, helping more people, teaching more people, educating more people, right? So that's also something that a lot of people run into, right? It's that blocker, it's that motivation, the drive. It happens for a season, and then the next season, right, you're like, oh no, like I did what I could. I am where I am. I don't really give me like until 6 months later, and then maybe we'll talk about scaling, right? So that's also something that a lot of entrepreneurs should avoid, right? It's really reminding yourself, why did I start in the first place? What am I doing this for, right? What was my goal? And did I end up reaching my goal? And if even if I did, dream bigger. Dream bigger. You can do so much. If something is successful, you can do so much to scale it. It's not just you have to stop there because you set out to do it, right? I think burnout is the thing. I definitely agree with that. It's not like we're not superhumans. We're not built, robotically or anything, right? We all have a mind. We all have things that we go through in life, and I think that's part of the cause with burnout as well. Is sometimes it's a good season in life. Things are going so well, and then everything you're back, mentally to where you began, right? And so, but the best thing to do with that is, I believe, and in my experience, it's been things like affirmations, right? Knowing that at the end of the day, no matter what happens, you still love yourself, you still love the people around you. You have a support group, whether that's your friends, your family, and even if it's none of those, maybe you're religious, right? Maybe it's God, and even if it's not that, then at the end of the day, it's yourself, right? No one is going to love you like you can potentially love yourself. And so I think that all comes with, again, what we talked about, right? Risk, comfort. Don't settle for less or where you are. Always strive to be the best that you can, because champions will always go to that next level, right? If you think you're successful doing the one product that you have, the one service that you're selling, and you think you're at where you need to be, there's people who are maximizing the same opportunity that you had, and they're going crazy. I'm not talking about money, right? I'm talking about opportunities. I'm talking
Mhm.
about the people that you bring in your life, right? And I think that's all of that. Just it makes it makes your life significant. It makes it so much more worth it, to be to have a network of people that love you, right? And to attract, the more harder you work, right, the more you attract in your life, right? And I'm a firm believer in that, and I think that's all that you have to consider when you're thinking about things like, when can I be comfortable, when can I take a risk, right? When is it worth it, when is something worth my time?
Talking about comfort, talking about changes. I know you changed from FBA to this new credit thing, funding thing. What made that transformation? Was it gradual? Was it immediate? Like, what was the process of changing from one thing to the other?
Yeah. So I know we talked about a lot of this mindset shift, right? This dynamic
Mhm.
shift. That didn't happen for me since 2 years ago, and this is why. So with my first business within drop shipping, Amazon FBA, e-commerce, being in that sneaker reselling space, at some point, like I said, the market was doing great. That's when I entered in. I got the opportunity to receive a lot of value for the items that I was selling, right? Yeezys, Air Jordans. At that time, like, there were so many items on Amazon that there wasn't a lot of competition, so you could easily go into the market and sell whatever it is, right? Things like novelty items, right? Things that you use every day in your household, right? Paper towels, tissues, dog food, cat food, right? Stuff for babies, pets, toddlers, whatever it is. And so with every kind of market, right? And we see that everywhere. We see that in the crypto market, stock market, whatever it is, every kind of market, there's always a crash, right? COVID's at its high. And a few years later, I was consistent with it. Everything crashed. Now, at that time, right, I didn't have the same mentality I have now. And I didn't understand business a whole lot, even though, yes, I was selling, but everything was in my favor, right? It just ended up working out because of what the market was. So I didn't grasp the good understanding of business and how to become a businessman. So in 2022, close to the end of it, right around 2023 as well, I decided, hey, I'm gonna go all in. I'm gonna get a bunch of inventory. I'm gonna start my own brand, with sneaker reselling, and that's gonna be my thing, my niche. I'm gonna be the guy that people come to. They want the hype gear. I'm gonna sell it to them.
Mhm.
With that idea, now of course it came a lot of risk, right? And at that time, I'm just gonna, in transparency, I also wasn't at the place where I had a whole bunch of confidence in myself that I'm gonna get this done. It was more of on a whim. I had this idea, I've been doing it for a while. I think it's gonna work well. I'm gonna try my best, but at the same time, I'm not gonna try my best, right?
Mm.
So what ended up happening was I got a bunch of inventory. At that time I didn't even know about business funding, so I ended up using some of the funds that I had saved up, and I ended up using some of the funds that I could get from the bank on my own personal guarantee. Right now, when it comes to personal guarantee, what a lot of people don't know is there's two different kinds of personal guarantee. Right, there's the personal guarantee that, hey, I'm going to use my personal credit cards. Right, it's gonna everything's going to get reported on my personal credit, and whatever it is, whether it's my usage, whether it's I'm going to try to pay off my credit cards on time, all that stuff is going to be reported on my personal profile. The difference with that kind of personal guarantee and a personal guarantee with business funding is i'm I'm using my credit score and my credit profile to get access to funding, but none of it is tied to me. It's all tied to my business. Now that doesn't mean you don't, it's just you use the money, you don't pay it back. You do have to pay it back eventually, but in a situation like I was, you have extra time to pay it off. When your business is successful, you can, pay it off at a later date. And so that's where I went wrong. I used my personal funds and I used personal credit cards. I started maxing out cards. What ended up happening pretty fast was market kept going down.
Mhm.
I had a bunch of inventory sitting there that I paid for, right? Spent thousands of dollars on it, but it wasn't worth the same when I first started, right? Everything was down below retail, some of it down 50%, right? And now I had to figure out how I'm going to sell my inventory, pay up for my costs, like my mentorship groups, the people in my communities, right? And the cards and the credit cards and all of that I spent, that I thought this idea was going to go great. What ended up happening in the end was I liquidated all that inventory. I was down in a lot of debt, right? And I didn't know how I was going to pay it off. It just sat there. It was reporting to my personal credit. Credit went down for a little bit. And I had to sit there and figure out, okay, what am I going to do next? Because my next moves, steps have to be very careful.
Mhm.
That's actually what led me to starting learning about credit. I learned about credit and how it works, what I need to do to get it fixed, right? How can I get my credit score up, what a profile is, and how that looks like. And eventually, and this is, I'm very thankful and grateful that I was able to do this. Eventually, I was able, I started working more shifts, started picking up more opportunities with work. Um, Learn some new skills about sales, and end up saving enough money to where I could pay back those credit cards. But that was a big eye opener for me. That situation could have gone bad a lot worse, and it could have gone bad a lot quicker, to the point where I didn't have a means to pay back that money, right? And so, thankfully that money did come in my life. I was able to pay it off. I was able to fix my credit based on all my learnings. But what that experience did is it taught me two things. It taught me that sneaker reselling is not it. No, I'm just kidding. Sneaker reselling can work, only if you do it the right way. I have a few friends that are in the industry right now. They're doing wholesale. They're doing
Mhm.
amazing. They're doing a killing with it, right? They're going out buying bulk shoes for the low, and then they're selling it to big sneaker retail stores, hype stores, for a little bit of a profit, right? But they're playing the long game, right? They're playing the game that, which eventually my idea was, hey, you have one sneaker, it's worth $200 over how much I bought it for. I'm gonna sell it, right? Versus this is what has been working. It has worked for sneaker resellers. I'm not saying it's the only thing that works, but this is a proven fact. Is you buy, let's say, 100 pairs of sneakers, right? With with a margin of only making about 5 to 10% per shoe, right? Yes, you only make like $2, $3, or $5 per shoe, but let's say you sell 100 of them. Instead of that $200 for that one shoe I was going to sell, I just sold 100 shoes for $500, right? Might take a little bit more work, but once you have those in, those relationships in place, it can happen. And so the first thing was, I didn't do this business right. I didn't understand how sneaker reselling works. And so that's something, e-commerce was something that I'm going to take a break from. Maybe I'll come back to in the future, but right now I don't have the proper means to do it. But the second thing was, I realized, hey, a lot of people don't understand credit. And if this happened to me with my business, I bet you other people are dealing with the same exact issue, right? where either they're spending their personal funds on business and they're not doing it the right way because they don't know about business funding, just like how I didn't know about it, or they're making the decision that, I'm gonna spend this money. I had this much saved up. I'm gonna do it, and hopefully it goes well. But if it doesn't and I lose everything, it's okay. I tried my best. That money is just gone,
Mhm.
and that's not the mentality you want to have. And so that's where I quickly realized that there was a pain point out there. There was a need for people that there's a need for someone to teach people about credit and how to build it, how it works, and how to structure it. And there was a need for someone to bridge the gap in knowledge between business funding, using your own personal funds, and how to leverage things that you already have, which is a credit score and a credit profile, to make it work for you, right? It's not a fact out there that if you want to start a business, you're going to have to figure it out yourself. No, there's people out there that are willing to teach. And if you find the right people, you go in the right rooms, you can learn all that information for free, right? Not a single dime out of your pocket, but that information is going to make you millions. The product might not make you millions, right? The service might not make you millions, at least at first. But the knowledge that you get from that is going to make you millions down the road. And so that's where that transition really came from. When it started at e-commerce and going into this credit and funding business, it was honestly just my own journey, man. It was just understanding that this is what I needed in my life. And I went through the training, I did the research, I did the learning. Now this is a skill that I'm really excited to go out and apply and give to other people. This is a skill that I can really, really help to change lives. At least that's the goal, right? Is to make an impact on everyone that I touch and just provide educational information, educational moments, so that maybe, hopefully, right, people don't go through what I went through with that failed business or that failed idea. Hopefully, the first risk that they take is a risk that they learn the most from, but it's also one that comes with a lot of success.
I love it. I have 3 questions based off what you're saying. First off, right at the bat, I feel like a lot of us don't know about funding just because we don't have parents that were entrepreneurs, and the college system never teaches us anything about funding, right? Yeah, I
Yeah.
know I have a degree in economics, and it's like I never learned anything about funding a business. I just learned supply and demand, right? So my question, first off, right at the bat, is: do you think every entrepreneur should get funding, or you should only get funding once you know your idea is going to work out?
Great
Or
question,
how
man.
do you think
So,
about funding when it comes to that?
yeah. So I think there's the main component about funding is understanding the ins and outs of your business, right? Go through the weaves of your business. What are some things, if you have an idea, what are the pros, what are the cons? What is something that you think is gonna possibly lead to less success? What is something that you think you're very confident about and it's worked for maybe hundreds of people that's going to give you success in your business, right? So it's making decisions based on, number one, confidence. How confident are you in your idea? Number two, does it make sense? Does it make sense for you to loan $50,000 to put it into a construction business if you've never had a mentor, if you've never gotten, the only research you've done is YouTube, right? YouTube is great. Hey, I'm a big fan of YouTube University, but YouTube might not give you the blueprint of, hey, you're gonna start this business. Don't worry, I'm going to help you through all the ins and outs of it. You're going to be successful, right? YouTube might not do that for you. And so with confidence, it's, are you confident in the knowledge that you're getting as well? Do you have a mentor? Is your mentor teaching you the ins and outs of it? Is the mentor willing to kind of hold your hand through the process, right? Maybe act as a supporting guide. Hey, mentor, I messed up on this right here. Hey, mentor, I don't know what to do here. I'm stuck. I can't figure out, what my next steps are. How do I go about it? Mentor is going to teach you. Hey, don't worry, I got you. We went through this before. We're going to get through it. I'm going to help you become successful out of this problem. And so first thing is always confidence. And I like to tell my clients that it's like, if you're going to start this idea, do you think you're going to make money? Be honest with me. And if you think you're going to make money, how long do you think it's going to take you? Is it going to take you, is it more of a long-term investment? Or you're looking to make maybe, a couple thousand? Is your return on investment like in 2 years, in 5 years, in 10 years? Or do you think you're going to start generating profit within the next 6 months? Right. And if you think that's the case, I think funding is great. And if you think maybe, it's going to take you 2 years to even generate some revenue, or at least, if you're spending $50,000 and it's going to take you 2 years to make all that 50,000 back. First of all, I don't think that's a great business idea. But but the main thing here is, if that's the case, then maybe funding might not make sense for you, right? I don't want you to be $50,000 in debt for the next 2 years and you having to try to figure out, how am I going to pay this back. So I think funding comes with a few characteristics in the individual and how confident they are. Do they think their idea works? Has it been proven that it works? Are they trying to do something from scratch? Are they trying to make something? Are they trying to reinvent the wheel, or are they just using the wheel for their own success? With that being said, though, even if all of those are in check, right, and they are trying to do something that's very unique, or create a product that hasn't been set out there, and then they're very passionate about it, and they know, hey, I know I'm going to put all of my work into it, I'm going to put all of my effort into it, this idea is going to boom in the next 6 months, and I just know it, right? That's something that I would have confidence in helping to get funding. So I think it also comes into my own confidence. Does your idea make sense, right? If you tell me, hey, I'm gonna take this $50,000 that I got from funding, I'm gonna open 10 Airbnbs. Well, first of all, $50,000 for 10 Airbnbs is gonna cut you really short, right? You can't just say, yeah, $50,000, 5,000 per Airbnb. What are you gonna do with 5,000, right? It takes maybe 15,000, 20,000, 25,000 for one Airbnb. So it's not being too optimistic, right? But it's just understanding that the market that you're getting into, you have to go through step ABC to be successful, not step A, then step Z, then step J, and get back to it. I do think once you have the right idea, funding can be for everyone, right? As long as you have things like a good credit profile. So there's a few factors that I look into to get the best chances to get approved from the banks with business funding, right? And I'll go over what those factors are real quick, and the main banks that I work with. So the factors that you want to have for your credit profile, it's going to be, you want to have at least a 700 plus credit score, right? Ideally, you want to have between a 720 to 750 and beyond. But starting at like 720 is pretty good to get approvals. You don't want to have any kind of negative marks or any kind of derogatory marks. So what that means is, like, let's say 2 years ago, you didn't pay off your medical bill, and now it's in collections. Now the collections is coming back to you and they're asking for that medical bill. Maybe it's discounted, maybe you negotiated a deal. You don't want to pay it off, right? Because paying it off means you're committing that, yes, that medical bill needs to be paid off. That was, what I did. Paying it off isn't the smart choice. Instead, you want to get it disputed, right? Either you do it yourself, or you want to get it done through a credit repair company. But having having any kind of negative marks like that, collections, late payments, bankruptcies, right, repossessions, those kinds of things is what's going to hold you back from getting access to funding. And it makes sense, right? Think about it, right? If you were in the shoes of the bank and someone came to you and said, hey, I want a $50,000 loan for this brand new business idea that I've had for a long time. I've done all the research. I know it's going to be a banker, but when they check your credit profile or their credit profile, they have all these negative marks, right? They've borrowed money in the past and they haven't been able to pay it off. And so does that give you confidence that that person is going to take your money, 50,000, put into their business and then be able to pay it off? No, right? Like, if someone came to me with that, I would want to say, hey, I need more proof, right? How do I know? What's the guarantee that within a year you're gonna give me back that $50,000 that I loaned to you, right? I'm being generous. I'm giving you an offer, but if I don't have any kind of security in my money, how am I gonna just give it to you, right? And so that's where the no derogatory marks comes from. And if someone does have that, there's credit repair companies out there that definitely work with that, and all hope isn't lost, right? Collections typically take anywhere between 5 to 7 years that it really affects your credit report, right? Well, same thing with late payments. Collections, like I said, about 5 years, maybe less. Late payments, anywhere between 5 to 7 years, right, where it affects your credit report. And The next thing is going to be your credit utilization, right? So credit utilization, a good factor is always to keep it under 30%. And what does credit utilization tell the bank? It tells the bank that, hey, I've lended X amount of money, let's say $10,000 to this person. They're using up, let's say 5,000 of it. Their utilization is at 50%. If they're using 50% of the money I've lent to them and it's been continuous, like let's say they haven't been able to pay that 50% of credit utilization off for the last month or 2 months or whatever it is, they're just doing the late payment. So they're only paying me $50 every month just to get that satisfied. I don't feel confident to lend them $50,000, right?
Mhm.
Same thing. It's the same thing with the mentality the banks is coming in. And so to combat that, you always want to have a utilization under 30% is a good rule. I always like to tell my clients, hey, have it under 10% per credit card, right? So let's say if your credit card limit is $1,000, your utilization should be under 10%, so less than $100. All that means is you want to pay less, you want to pay off your credit card and have less than $100 at the end of your statement date, right? When your credit card statement comes out, it should show that your utilization is $100 or less out of $1,000 on that credit card. So utilization is the third key thing. Fun fact: utilization is also the highest number to which it'll affect your credit score. I have a quick story, right? I had a client who was at a 650 credit score. Um, we fixed her utilization, went from 35% down to less than 10%. It was about 7%. Their score jumped 120 points, right? Just by that small factor. We didn't have to fix any late payments, didn't have to fix any kind of derogatory marks. It was just the credit utilization that we significantly lowered it. And the bank said, hey, that's great. The credit bureaus immediately jumped your score, right? So credit utilization is key. The other factors, it's going to be having at least a 3 to 5 years. I like to say three because that's the lowest I've seen business funding get approved. At least 3 years of credit age. So whether that's, let's say, your last credit card or one of your credit cards was opened 10 years ago, and you have a credit card that you just opened up, right? The average age of that is going to be about 5 years. So you want to have at least 3 years of age, and that just shows the banks, and right, it just shows the banks that, hey, this is someone that's been having credit for a long time. Yeah, 3 years, we can trust them that they've been consistent, they've been paying back payments and stuff for the last 3 years. This is a good client, right? And so those are going to be just the general factors of what it really takes to get approved for business funding, right? Other things are obviously like having an LLC, right? You want to have all the documents and create an established LLC so that you can go out and provide the banks with which account you're going to get business funding under. Again, business funding is not tied to your personal, right? It's just a personal guarantee that your credit profile score looks good, you're responsible, you're trustworthy, so that you're going to pay off the amount that you're borrowing from the bank at a reasonable amount of time. It's just going to go into your business, right? But then in order for the money to be given as your business, right, into your LLC, you need to create an LLC or some kind of corporation, whether it's a C corp, S corp, right, LLC, all that good stuff. So those are going to be the factors for business funding. Once you have all of that in check, everything looks good, you have the right score, you have the right profile, you're ready to apply. So banks that I love applying to for my clients, right, and working with, I'll just name a few here. One of them is going to be Chase Bank. Chase Bank gives the most amount of funding, and they're the most lenient when it comes to brand new LLCs, right? So Chase will actually give you anywhere between 50,000 up to, I've seen 100,000. Typically, they do like 50 to 75 is a good ballpark of what most people get approved for. But that's 50,000 to 75,000 in business funding approved. It's a credit card, right? You apply. Once you get approved, it's, you see it on your bank account, you get a credit card for it, all that good stuff. Chase also has 0% APR for 12 months. There's no annual fee, and they also have introductory offers too, right? But the current promotion right now is 75,000 points for a spend of 3 to 4,000 within the first couple months, right? What that means is 75,000 points. That's at least a couple round trip flights, right? Depending on where you fly. But that's free flying. That's free money that you're getting just for applying for a credit card. You get free money to fly, and you get money to spend on your business. Hey, that's a win-win, right? So
Mhm.
Chase is a really good one. You always want to apply through a business relationship manager. A lot of the banks that I talk about, most of them you want to apply through a business relationship manager, right? That's what they're called. They work directly in the bank. If you apply online for at least a few banks, chances are you're going to get approved for low limits, right? Business relationship managers are the direct people that will look at your application and say, yeah, this client is good, or no, this client we don't want to work with because we can't trust them right now, right? When you play online, it's just an automated system that's saying, yeah, profile looks good. Let's get them approved for like 5,000, 10,000, right? When you see a person and you say, hey, I want 50,000, this is their business idea, right? This is what they're going to do business for. This is how they're going to bring you even more money and even more clients. Then that gives them more trust of like, okay, Ali sent me this client. I'm gonna get them approved because I trust him. I trust their business idea. Let's get it done. Let's get them approved for 50,000. Right. So that's Chase. Another few banks that I recommend. U.S. Bank is a good one. Key Bank is a really good one as well. Wells Fargo, American Express. Everyone knows about American Express, right? Funny enough, with American Express, you actually don't really apply through a business relationship manager. You can apply online, and those are going to give you the same opportunity. It's just because Amex doesn't really have those business relationship managers. Um, that's how their company is made, right? That's how their bank is structured, and so. But Amex is great with a business credit, right? The business blue cash card, that one 0% APR for 12 months gives you higher limits, anywhere between about 25,000. I've seen a little bit more, 35,000 as well. But that's going to be a really good card for business, just to add to your arsenal, add extra funding to it. So the funding game and the funding sequence, it's not that you're stuck with just like 25,000 or 50,000. It keeps going. You can get approved for more than 100K. You can keep going. I just had a conversation with my mentor today, right? And we were talking about business funding and getting approved for our own business funding for our businesses. And his goal is to hit 1 million by the end of this year in just business funding, right? That's not any money adding onto him. That's leveraging literally money from the banks into his account, whether it's lines of credit, whether it's business credit cards, right? Business loans. $1 million is how much you could potentially get from the banks. Now that blows my mind, right? That's insane. And some of that is also zero interest. So it's like you're not spending any money out of your pocket. You're literally getting free money to start your business and expand your idea. It's something that, man, I wish we would all know, right? But that's what I'm here for, man. It's just teaching people about it exists. It's possible to get it, to go out there and get it, and anyone can do it. Literally anyone can do it. That's the beauty of business funding.
Makes sense. That $1 million seems like a weird goal, though.
Yeah.
It's like most people are like, I want to be in less debt, not I want to be more debt.
Right. No, exactly. And it's $1 million, but obviously if it's going through a successful idea, it works, then that $1 million, man, that can make you 10 million, right? That can make you 15 million. So the goal is take the money that you can get, be successful, prove that it works, right? To the banks, to whoever whoever is doubting you, or whoever is like, hey, is this money really going to make, what are you going to do with this money? Is it really going to work? Your business ideas are really going to work. So take those opportunities, make the money off of it, and go out, take more money, right? Scale up. The $1 million isn't just there for anyone. It's for people that have proven the value that my idea works. They've been consistent with it, and they're trying to scale. They're trying to make 1 million to 10 million, right? So that's what it's really for, man.
You talk to people all the time that are looking for funding, and you probably give funding advice all the time. Say someone came with and they're like got $50,000, where would you invest that money into someone's business to like grow their business?
So I've dealt with a variety of clients, right? I'll have some people go into real estate, some that go into e-commerce, some that want to do it with like their healthcare business or their beauty salon, or they want to go into a market that's completely untapped, right? I had a client recently that is starting their own business with sports energy drinks, right? They have a formula for a really crazy powder You mix it into water. It has electrolytes and all that good stuff. It's organic. It's healthy, and he wants to bring that out to the market, right? And so the the business ideas are always there. It's always like, people that are going into businesses that already exist, or people are trying to go into a business that has never existed. And so I would say a lot of the time I'll see, people that want to do something that they know has already been around, right? Airbnb arbitrage, right? With e-commerce, it's things like drop shipping, right? They need money to invest into the course that they're taking. They need money to pay for ad costs, right? Or like any kind of promotion or any kind of content they're creating. Now with things like that, I always recommend, right, getting a mentor first, right? When you have a mentor, it just speeds up the whole learning curve and the whole learning process. And I'll also like explain why. It's because when you know someone that has proven it, that it's worked, it's effective, and they've done it themselves, then when you go out to do it, you're not starting from zero. You're starting from all of their resources, which is already at, for them that's 100%. For you it's going to be zero. So you're starting from their 100% and you're trying to create a new 100% for yourself, right? And I think that's where, when I hear those kinds of ideas, right, where people, let's say, they want to go into Airbnb arbitrage. Okay, to get into Airbnb arbitrage, you need things like enough money to pay for the rent, maybe for the first few months, because maybe you're not going to be generating, crazy amount of revenue. It might take you some time to get the Airbnb season on the website. It may take some time for you to understand the opportunity and or understand that, hey, this is how Airbnbs work.
Mm-hmm.
So that learning curve may take some time and you need money for that, right? Then it's things like setting up the Airbnb, buying the furniture, right? Taking professional photos, making sure that it looks clean, right? So having cleaners set up the whole place if you're not doing it yourself, right? Posting it on Airbnb, right? You might need some time to do that, or hire people to do that, hire experts to do that, maybe even posting it on different platforms, right? All of that is time and money. And so, in order for that to happen, though, business funding is a perfect opportunity. You need 25,000 to set up your Airbnb in the first 3 months. Great, leverage that money, right? Let's go to Chase, get you approved for 50,000. Right now, you can go back and you can put it into the Airbnb 6, 8, 9 months from now. Hopefully, you're going to pay off all of your startup costs, all the money you bring in from there. It's going to go into the cost that you had with maintaining the place, cleaning fees, whatever it is, right? After the people stay, or people that rent it out, you have to pay for the cleaning fees or whatever it is, paying for insurance, and then everything else you pocket, right? You profit off of it. And so with most of my clients, it's them coming with an idea. Sometimes I'll get clients who are like, "Hey, I just saw your advertised for 50,000. I love $50,000 in my bank account. Sure, let me get some, right? But well, what are you gonna do with the money?" And so those kind of conversations mainly go like this: yeah, I've wanted to be an entrepreneur for all my life. I really like the idea of business. I'm studying finance in school, but I want to start my own agency or my own company. So my idea is there, or at least my passion is there, but I just really don't know what I'm going to do with the 50,000. Well, that's okay, right? Are you interested? Have you ever looked into e-commerce, right? Are you interested in drop shipping? Are you interested in Airbnb arbitrage, real estate, right? Things that can make you sustainable income, right? Even trading, right? Do you have has something grasped your eye that you're like, hey, I could probably do this if I put in the time, and I might have some time to put into it. So now it's going to be okay. Well, hey, if you have the passion, if you potentially think that you can go into this market and you can become successful, then yeah, we can get you for 50,000. But in order to do that, right, I want to make sure that you're set on making the idea work for you. You're going to be successful. You're confident. Yes, you get the 50,000. Now let's find you a mentor. Whether that's some of my assets, right, that I bring in. I know a few guys within the e-commerce space that are successful. I know a few guys within trading that are successful, right? So maybe you could use some of the money that I'm getting you into paying for that mentorship, right? Let's say the mentorship is like two grand. Okay, I paid $2,000 into membership for Airbnb arbitrage. Cool. Airbnb arbitrage cost me 25,000 to set up. Cool. I'm 27 down. I know this model works. I have a mentor. I know I'm going to be successful. Ali connects me with the right guy. Cool. Now let's make it happen. Let's work these next 9 months, get it paid off, and there you go. Right. So most of my clients, right, again, they come with an idea. Some that don't, I try to get them connected based on their interests. And interest, right? Obviously, if they don't have a business mind, they've never thought about business, they don't have anything, they don't have a mindset, whatever. Typically for those guys, I refer them to, hey, before we get you funding, I don't want to give you this money and then you just have it sit there and don't know what to do with it, right? First, find your interest, find what you want to do. Even if you're in medicine, you're a doctor, you're a nurse, that's all you know. All you know is healthcare, and you've never taken a look into business. Talk to some of your friends, see if they have started clinics or opened up, hospitals or whatever it is. See if they've done that, and if that's something that interests you, right? Not just for the money aspect, but also that you can extend your services as a nurse or a doctor to your community. Well, great. Then we can talk about funding. And so it really just comes from more of interest. It comes of what is my client wanting to get into, and do they if they don't know what they want to go get into, then hopefully guide them in the right direction so that they can figure out this is exactly what they want to do. This is exactly what they can use the money for. That way they're happy, and I feel like I did my service, hopefully by guiding them in the right direction.
That makes sense. We have a repeating tradition on the show where we ask for a millionaire insight at the end of the show, or the biggest takeaway from the last 10 years, 5 years of you as an entrepreneur. What would that be for that insight for the audience?
Yeah. I love this question because I always think about it, and I always think about it because I'm like, how can I change my answer? But this has been a consistent part of my life that I'll share right now. And it's funny because it's this ongoing theme that has transitioned into different words throughout my journey so far. And when I first started, when I was in actually when I wasn't growing up, when I was in college, I was around way more people, right? Especially in college, I was part of organizations. I had my roommates, I had my friend group, and at that time, I didn't realize how important it is to just be there in the presence. And it wasn't until one key moment that I had where my friend was graduating. He graduated a year after I did. I didn't, think too much about it. I was like, hey, you're graduating? Great. I'm going to be in town, right? I went to the University of Alabama at Birmingham, right? All the way in Alabama. I'm in California. It ended up being that I was going to be in town around that time anyways. So I was like, hey, let me just stop by your graduation. I'll be there. He's one of my good friends. We've been friends for a long time. When I got there, it was just me, him. We were celebrating his graduation. His other friends can show up. And he told me, man, I am just he told me that, Ali, you have truly made my graduation just by showing up. And when he said that, I didn't really realize, but I was like, hey, this is a normal gesture for me, right? It just made sense for me to come and be a part of his moment. Of course, he's my friend, but also I was there, right? It just ended up happening like that. When he said that, though, I thought about it, reflected on it. And I said, wow, so it really matters with the small moments in life that you're in. It matters how you make other people feel, right? And every time I've heard different entrepreneurs and celebrities, people who are very successful talk about how the creating the moment really matters. But it hit me in that, and if that's one thing that has always stuck with me. Recently I was in a call with Kaylin O'Toole, and she said this one thing that was also very profound. She said that she had an experience in life where she was going to this event, right? And she always talks about positivity, talks about motivation. She talked about our magnetic field as humans. And we all know, right, when you have maybe negative thoughts or feelings, you maybe attract bad habits or bad people. But when you have positive feelings, you attract positivity in your life, right? And what she said, in moments where she maybe wasn't feeling positivity, but she had to remind herself that positivity is important in moments when you're feeling down. Remind yourself that no, don't be down, right? I have to be positive in this moment because positivity is when it's going to get you through hopefully a lot of things in life, right? She stayed positive in the moment, the trial or the tribulation that she was going through, and it just broadened her magnetic fields. I was fortunate enough to go into the MindCon event. It was with Andy Elliott, David Goggins, there were a bunch of guys there. Every single entrepreneur I talked to was there to grow and learn, right? And they created that magnetic field just being in that presence and being in the area. I didn't have to like talk to anyone or say anything or go somewhere. Just being in that one environment with thousands of people who are also there for the same reason. They're all thinking positively. They're all thinking that they want to grow, and they're there for expanding their businesses and learning something from Andy Elliott and the whole presentation. That just felt it just felt amazing. It truly felt amazing. It opened my mind. I felt more present in life. And so I think the one thing that we should all be doing is creating those positive environments, becoming a magnetic field where you're just spreading positivity around yourself as much as you can. Everything can't, everything in life, sometimes it's going to be times where it's not all, a lot of joy and a lot of, great moments. Sometimes we all do struggle through challenges, right? But as many moments as we have, just trying to be positive and spreading that magnetic field, when you put out that energy is going to come back to you, and it's going to be tenfold, right? It's going to be tenfold. It's going to be amazing, powerful energy that is truly going to change your life. But it all starts with that one thought of, hey, I'm not going to let myself down today. I'm going to keep going. And I'm going to make sure that the people that are around me are also going to receive that positivity. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that I successfully create value between our partnership, our relationship, our friendship, right? And so that's been life changing, man. That's truly been life changing. I hope everyone gets the opportunity to feel that one day, and really, really, if you're given that opportunity, really analyze it, really feel it, see that see how it makes you feel and see how it changes your life. Because I can tell you that the positive energy is going to attract great things in y'all's life for sure.
Thank you, Ali, for hopping on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, man. I had a great time. Hopefully I was able to give your audience some value. And looking forward to the next one. Thank you again for your time.